I personally asked President Putin not to fire on Kiev and the cities and towns for a week during this. It's extraordinary. It's not just like cold, it's extraordinary cold, record-setting cold. Over there too, they're having the same. It's a big pile of bad weather, the worst. But it was, they said they've never experienced cold like that. And I personally asked President Putin not to fire into Kiev and the various towns for a week, and he agreed to do that. And I have to tell you, it was very nice. A lot of people said, don't waste the call, you're not going to get that, and he did it, and we're very happy that they did it.
That's correct.
Because on top of everything else, that's not what they need, is missiles coming into their towns and cities. So
this is my video update on this Friday afternoon, January the 30th. Coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with the strange story behind the energy truce that Trump announced yesterday. Out of the blue, it seems. Trump was speaking to reporters and in the White House, and he said, you know what, I spoke to Russian President Vladimir Putin, and I asked him for an energy truce because of the cold weather in Ukraine, and Putin agreed to a 1-week energy truce. And Trump was very complimentary of the Russian president, and so we got the announcement from Trump that there was some phone call that took place between himself and Putin. Trump asked for Russia to stop hitting Ukraine's energy infrastructure, at least in the main cities and towns. And Putin said, okay, he agreed. And Russia was silent. There was no confirmation from the Kremlin as to whether this did indeed happen, if there really was a phone call between Putin and Trump, if Trump really did ask the Russian president for an energy truce, for a 1-week energy truce. And as far as Ukraine goes, well, they were silent for a few hours. And then Zelensky came out with some statements claiming that this was talked about in Abu Dhabi, in the UAE. An energy truce was discussed, and he thanked U.S. President Trump for looking after the safety of Kiev and other cities and towns in Ukraine. And you got the impression from Zelensky's statement that he was kept out of the loop as far as any kind of energy truce discussion between the United States and Russia. He was not, it appeared that he was not informed about the phone call between Trump and Putin. He was not informed about an agreement for an energy truce in Ukraine. And so he came out with a statement saying that an energy truce was discussed in Abu Dhabi, which it was. An energy ceasefire was discussed in Abu Dhabi, but Russia rejected the energy ceasefire in the UAE. And then he thanked Trump for looking after Ukraine's energy infrastructure and the safety of Ukraine and Ukrainians during the winter. And then Russia came out with their statement many hours later. I would say a good 15 to 20 hours later. You finally got a statement from the Kremlin spokesman Peskov, who confirmed that there was a request from U.S. President Trump, but not a phone call, a request from Trump for an energy ceasefire, and that Russia said okay, and this energy ceasefire was going to last until February the 1st. So yesterday, Trump says there's going to be a 1-week energy ceasefire. There was a call that took place between himself and Putin. Moscow's quiet for a good 15 to 20 hours. Zelensky appeared to be completely out of the loop. And the Kremlin then says, yeah, an energy ceasefire until February the 1st. Not for 1 week, but until February the 1st, which is in a couple of days. Unless, of course, you assume that Trump made the request for an energy ceasefire a day or two after the Dubai talks. The United States pitches an energy ceasefire in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi. They pitch an energy ceasefire to Russia. Russia says there's going to be no ceasefires of any kind. And then a day or two after the talks in Abu Dhabi, Trump somehow communicates with Russia, whether through a phone call or through some sort of a letter or a message asking for an energy ceasefire for 1 week. Russia says, okay. And it brings us to Thursday evening, Friday morning, afternoon. And Trump has told the media that this energy ceasefire was agreed on and will last 1 week, but it was agreed on 4 or 5 days ago and is going to last until February the 1st. So we've already gone through 4 or 5 days of some sort of an energy ceasefire, of which Russia did not announce anything about some sort of a ceasefire 4 or 5 days ago. And the ceasefire is going to expire. This truce is going to expire on Sunday. So a really bizarre story that's shaping up around this energy truce. Something doesn't add up. I wonder if this conversation between Trump and Putin actually took place. I wonder if there was some sort of communication, if there really was some sort of communication between Trump and Putin. Maybe miscommunication. Maybe there was some miscommunication. If I had to take a guess as to what happened, I would say that after Abu Dhabi, the Trump White House somehow got in touch with Russia. Maybe Trump sent a message to the Kremlin, asked for some sort of an energy truce for a week or so. Maybe the Kremlin said yes. Maybe the Kremlin said, we'll think about it. And then Trump gets in front of reporters 4 or 5 days later and says in the White House that there's an energy truce. And he spoke to Putin via phone because for Trump, he likes to exaggerate everything. And he says he spoke to Putin, and Putin was very generous and very nice. And he said, yeah, we'll agree to an energy ceasefire for 1 week. And then Russia had to take 10, 15, 20 hours to kind of process everything that Trump had said at the White House. And they probably said, you know what, just say, yeah, we agreed to an energy ceasefire, which will expire on February the 1st, and we'll leave it there. Something like that probably went down. And Zelensky completely not in the know for any of this. That's what I think is going on here. But anyway, Peskov, he did say in order to facilitate negotiations, the energy ceasefire will last until February the 1st. I think that's the key statement from Peskov, that the Russians probably said, you know what, Trump just issued a statement saying that he called you, Mr. President Putin, and he said that you guys agreed to an energy ceasefire. So in order to just keep things positive with regards to our communication with the United States and with President Trump, let's just say, yeah, we agreed to a ceasefire, and we'll put the end date at February the 1st on Sunday. Very bizarre story with this energy ceasefire. The Green Goblin had no idea that any of this was going on. If any of this was really going on. We don't even know if any of this really happened. But Trump threw it out there, and I think it caught everyone by surprise. Trump said that Putin agreed to a 1-week energy infrastructure ceasefire because of the cold, extreme cold. I personally asked President Putin not to fire on Kiev and the cities and towns for a week. He agreed to do that. And then you have Peskov confirming that Russia agreed to refrain from strikes on Ukraine until February the 1st. According to Peskov, Trump indeed asked Putin to do so in order to create favorable conditions for negotiations. Zelensky, he posted on X yesterday, or like 10 hours ago, 10, 15 hours ago from the time of me recording this video, the Green Goblin posted an important statement by @POTUS about the possibility of providing security for Kiev and other Ukrainian cities during this extreme winter period. Power supply is a foundation of life. We value the efforts of our partners to help us protect lives. Thank you, President Trump. Our teams discussed this in the UAE Emirates. We expect the agreement to be implemented. De-escalation steps contribute to real progress toward ending the war. Yeah, you can tell by Zelensky's message that he was not informed about any of this stuff that's going on with this energy truce. So anyway, it's an interesting development, very interesting development, and I would not be surprised if there was some sort of communication. I don't think there was a phone call. I don't think there was a Trump-Putin phone call. Most likely Trump messaging Putin after Abu Dhabi and after Russia rejected the energy ceasefire that Witkoff and Kushner pitched to the Russian side. And I think it was just kind of left there. And then Trump just blurted it out at the White House. Yeah, we agreed to an energy ceasefire. And I think that's how all of this then unfolded. So the Kremlin is also saying that if Zelensky wants to visit Moscow, so that they can talk and negotiate some sort of a settlement to the conflict in Ukraine, Zelensky is welcome to visit Moscow. He is absolutely welcome to visit Moscow. A lot of talk about Putin and the Green Goblin meeting, and for Russia, the meeting, if there were to be a meeting between the Green Goblin and Putin, it would most certainly have to take place in Moscow, and Russia has guaranteed that Zelensky's safety would be okay. They guaranteed his safety. I'm sure he would be taken care of, well fed, put up in a nice hotel, and then he would meet with Putin. Of course, Zelensky is turning all of this down, and his counter is Putin can come to Kiev and he can negotiate with me in Kiev if he's brave enough. I think that was his statement. If he has the courage or if he's brave enough. Are you chicken? That was Zelensky's message. Are you chicken? President Putin, come to Kiev. Come to Kiev. Come on, Mr. Putin. I'm not going to Moscow. You come to Kiev and you negotiate with me. Hey, Podolyak. Yes, Mr. President. That's a good counter. You're a very brave man, Mr. President. I know, Podolyak. Anyway, all right. So Zelensky also said that Ukraine is not going to give up any territory, no Donetsk, Donbass, any stuff like that, and Ukraine's going to fight to hold on to whatever territory they currently control in Donetsk, and they're going to fight to gain control of the ZNPP, the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. So in other words, there's no deal or anything like that going on between Ukraine, Russia, the United States, as Witkoff and Kushner and Rubio are making it out to be. We're very, very close to a deal. 90% of everything has been done, or 99% of everything has been agreed on. Zelensky keeps on saying there's going to be no deal on territory. The ZNPP, we're going to go after it, and he's doubling and tripling down on that. So he's not going to move away from his position when it comes to the territory and stuff like that. Even though Witkoff yesterday at the White House said that the issue of security guarantees has pretty much been 100% agreed on between the United States and Ukraine. Russia has not been consulted on the security guarantees issue, but between Ukraine and the United States, between Ukraine and the United States, security guarantees have been completely agreed on. That's what he told the media in the White House with Trump sitting there with Witkoff. Trump very happy at the progress between the negotiations between Ukraine and the United States. Trump is very happy with the way the negotiations are progressing between the United States and Ukraine, right? Between the United States and its puppet vassal. Things are negotiating very, very well. I like it. I like it a lot. Oh boy, they tear paradise and put up a parking lot. They tear paradise and put up a parking lot. I guess they said, you know what? Let's just park cars here in the Zapio. Forget about it being just a place for pedestrians. Might as well turn it into a parking lot. Why not? Like this video and share this video and subscribe to this channel. And what else? What else do I have to talk about? Let's see. We covered the energy truce. We covered Zelensky's demands. He's got a lot of demands, the Green Goblin. Got a whole lot of demands. I'm trying to think, what else do I have to talk about before we get to Iran and Cuba. What a day of news! Oh, Peter Siarto, he spoke to some media outlet yesterday, and Peter Siarto, the foreign minister of Hungary, said that in public, the EU officials and EU foreign ministers, they talk about negotiations and peace and stuff like that when it comes to Ukraine. But Siarto said behind closed doors, when we're all meeting together behind closed doors as foreign ministers, the foreign ministers of pretty much all of the EU countries, or most of the EU member state foreign ministers, they say that they are not ready for peace. They do not want peace, and they are definitely not ready for any kind of peace deal when it comes to Project Ukraine. Quite an admission from a revelation from Peter Siarto. And he was asked about who are these foreign ministers, and he said, I'm not going to give any names of the foreign ministers, but he said, I'm at these meetings. I'm at these meetings. I know what they say publicly, and they talk about negotiations and peace and how Russia's not ready for a peace deal and stuff like that. But he said, behind closed doors, trust me, none of these guys want a peace deal. That's what Siarto said. We have news that the European Union is now looking for energy gas suppliers. Yeah, because they're worried that they're too dependent on the United States. Too dependent on the United States. And so now the European Union is scrambling around looking for more energy suppliers in order to diversify, right? They've cut out Russia. Very happy about cutting out Russia. They made it official a couple of days ago. Victory, success. We are cutting out Russia. Pipeline gas is going to be completely cut in 2026. LNG completely cut by LNG completely cut in 2026. Pipeline gas completely cut in 2027. By the beginning of 2020, no more Russian gas. Very, very proud of themselves, the European Union. And then they realized, you know what, we're about 50-60% dependent on the United States now for our energy gas needs. And so they're now scrambling around to find alternative suppliers. Probably should have thought about that before you greenlit the cutting off of Russia, European Union. Oh, what is going on here with the brainiacs in Brussels? EU scrambles to secure new energy suppliers to curb reliance on the U.S., the bloc's growing dependency on American LNG has sparked concerns amid fraying ties over Greenland. Energy Commissioner Dan Jorgensen told reporters on Wednesday that geopolitical turmoil regarding Greenland has been a wake-up call for the region, which now relies on the U.S. for more than half of its LNG supplies. There is a growing concern, which I share, that we risk replacing one dependency with another, Jorgensen, Denmark's representative in the European Commission, said. We need to diversify, if as much as possible, he added, noting that he will travel to Canada, Qatar, and North African countries in the coming months to discuss supplies. So cut the suppliers first, and then search for new suppliers. Way to go. Way to go, Europe. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. First, cut off the suppliers, then go searching for new suppliers. That's how it's done. And who are the suppliers that they're going to go after? Canada, Qatar, and North African countries. Yeah, you're really diversifying from the United States there, huh? Qatar and Canada, that's a lot of U.S. diversification. Because if Trump really wanted to squeeze Europe, let's say he thinks about Greenland again, because right now Greenland is not on Trump's mind anymore. He's occupied with Iran and Cuba. But let's just say Greenland pops up back again on Trump's radar, and Trump wants to put the squeeze on Europe in order to take all of Greenland. There's no way that Canada and Qatar, if Trump requested it, would stop LNG to the European Union. They would tell Trump, nah, we'll continue to supply LNG even though you're telling us to stop supplying LNG. President Trump. Yeah. So let's talk about Iran and the United States, the Trump administration. It is in position to launch an attack against Iran. They tried to talk, according to U.S. President Trump, but the talks fell through. The demands from Trump were much harsher than what he demanded, say, 6 months ago or 9 months ago. He not only was asking for no more uranium enrichment or anything like that, but he was now asking for Iran to be done with their ballistic missiles, or to stop producing ballistic missiles which can go a certain range. So that was one of the requirements. The uranium and Iranian proxies, allies, to cut off all ties with Iran's network. So the ask from the United States, the demands from the United States, they went up. And of course, Iran refused. They rejected the U.S.'s demands. And so here we are with this big armada, as Trump calls it, in place to launch some sort of a strike against Iran. There are reports now which claim that the United States has some special ops in position to perhaps go into Iran and to take out the nuclear facilities. But I don't think that's what the special ops, if they really are in place and ready to go into Iran, I don't think it's about the nuclear facilities. It would be something along the lines of what we saw in Venezuela. Perhaps they're going to try and capture or decapitate the leadership, if these reports are correct, and there are special ops that are operating in the region and maybe even close to Iran or inside Iran. Anyway, those are the reports some reports that we are getting. But the Trump administration is in place and ready to launch some sort of a strike against Iran. No more talks. The world is now waiting to see what happens next. Here's a photo of Lindsey Graham. He posted this on X from yesterday. The thumbs up tour continues. Great meeting with Defense Minister of Saudi Arabia, Prince Khalid bin Salman. Wow, these people are clever, and you can see the thumbs up from Graham and the Saudi prince. The Saudis are also in DC. Defense officials from Saudi Arabia and Israel traveled to DC in order to discuss various strike options with the U.S. military. Is Lindsey Graham ever in South Carolina? Does he ever go to South Carolina? Ever? He's happy. He's very excited, and that's bad news. When Lindsey Graham is excited, then that's very bad news. When Lindsey Graham is upset and depressed, then that's very good news. But we have Lindsey Graham very, very upbeat, knowing that some sort of an operation is going to happen against Iran. Of course, it's regime change. It's all about regime change, and we know Trump's tactics, his technique when it comes to these types of conflicts and regime change operation. He tries to avoid any type of long wars or drawn out operations. He looks for the knockout in the first or second round, and a lot of trickery and distraction and diversion and surprise tactics. And my hunch is that we're going to see a lot of that come into play in Iran, perhaps using the Venezuela model, but Iran is very, very different from Venezuela. But Trump's going to try and get the regime change knockout, a quick knockout of the leadership in Iran. That is what I think Trump is going to aim for. That's what the U.S. military is going to try and do with Iran. The EU is playing its part. Of course, the EU is playing its part. You see, Europe is not so angry with Trump over Greenland. They're really not that upset, everybody, because the United States asked and the European Union delivered. They have categorized the Revolutionary Guard, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, as a terrorist group. This is what Kaja Kallas announced yesterday. Any regime that kills thousands of its own people is working toward its own demise, Kallas wrote on X after a meeting of EU foreign ministers in Brussels. On her way into the meeting, Kallas told reporters, "This will put them in the same footing with Al-Qaeda, Hamas, and Daesh. If you act as a terrorist, you should also be treated as a terrorist." Kallas also said, someone asked her about diplomacy, because the obvious question to ask, stunning and brave, is, well, now that you're categorizing Iran's military as a terrorist group, that pretty much cuts off any chance of EU dialogue or diplomacy with Iran going forward. And Kallas's response was, "Don't worry about it." She said, "Don't worry about it. I'm sure that we'll still be able to engage in diplomacy with Iran, even though we've categorized their Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group." Stunning and brave, everybody. But yeah, it puts them in the same category as Al-Qaeda. Huh, that's interesting. Does that mean that Iran's Revolutionary Guard can now become president of Syria? Is that what you're getting at, stunning and brave? Now that they're in the same category as Al-Qaeda, they can become president of other countries, right? Right. So yeah, that's what the EU has done. No doubt, upon the request of the United States, they're in sync. They're completely in sync. even though you had that Greenland argument. But it was a speed bump. It was not really that big of a row. If there was a way for the Europeans, the European political elite and the globalist class to just hand over Greenland to Trump without having any kind of humiliation or political fallout, they would have done it, right? What bothered them was the optics of it, the humiliation of it. You know, we thought we were friends, we thought we were peers, we thought we were buddies, and now here you are bullying us. That's not cool. If you just asked, we would have given you Greenland, President Trump. Just asked nicely, right? But you humiliated us, and we thought we were friends. Anyway, all right. Iran is on Trump's radar now, not Greenland, and we could be seeing an attack today, tomorrow. These attacks usually happen on the weekends. Most likely, we will see something happen next week or the week after. If I had to take a guess, though, it could happen tonight. I would guess in a week or two. One of the reasons that I think Trump is not going to attack Iran just yet is because he's got all of this Fed stuff to deal with. A big announcement with a possible new Fed chair, and I think he wants to deal with that first. That would be my guess, but it could happen tonight. It could very well happen tonight. Whatever operation they have on their minds, and I think they're gonna come up with something creative. That's what Trump is going to do with the Pentagon and the military. Saudi Arabia, Israel, they're all in DC. I think they're going to try to come up with something very creative, very fast, very devastating to try and cause chaos and knock out the Iranian leadership. We'll see. We'll see exactly what they are thinking, but it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. He's putting so much military hardware, so many military assets in place. That part does remind me of Venezuela. The fact that he's putting so many military assets in position is going to make it very, very difficult, just like in Venezuela for the Trump administration to pull back. Iran said they're going to hit the U.S. hard if they strike. Iran has said this time around, we're not going to let you off the hook in 12 days, which is what happened the first time around. The foreign minister of Iran also, he laid into the European Union. He said that the EU categorizing the Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist group is a PR stunt. And he said the people of Europe deserve better. It's all for optics and PR. And they're just vassals of the U.S. That was pretty much his message. They're just doing as they're told, and the people of Europe deserve better leadership. That's what the foreign minister of Iran said, something along those lines. So now we turn to Cuba, and Trump is looking to get regime change in Cuba. I'm losing track of all of the regime change operations going on and the possible conflicts, the ongoing conflicts and the possible conflicts going on. How many of these does Trump have going on? 8, 9, the peace president. He's solving 8 conflicts. He's starting 8 conflicts. You see, he's in perfect balance. The yin and the yang. Start 8 conflicts, resolve 8 conflicts. Yeah, we got Cuba now, and Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency over Cuba, and we are looking at additional tariffs on countries supplying Cuba with oil. That is what this executive order declaring a national emergency on Cuba is all about. Tariffs on countries supplying oil to Cuba. The Trump administration believes that in 15 to 20 days, Cuba is going to be left with no oil because of everything that happened with Venezuela. Effectively, there's an oil blockade on Cuba, and they believe in a couple of weeks' time, Cuba will be without oil, and so they're enacting this national emergency order. to fully starve Cuba of any possibility of getting any oil. And they're talking about Mexico. That's who they're talking about, right? Because tariffs against Russia, if Russia is providing oil to Cuba, which I believe they've talked about, and maybe they are providing oil to Cuba, but Russia has offered to provide energy to Cuba. I don't know if Cuba has taken them up on their offer since the whole Venezuela thing went down, but Mexico definitely is a supplier, and if Mexico continues to help out Cuba, well, then they're going to get tariffs, right? I believe Mexico is supplying Cuba with oil. I said a couple of days ago that Mexico was concerned about the Trump administration placing tariffs on Mexico if it continues to work with Cuba, and they were afraid of that. And it looks like that's what we have going on here. So we're looking at a blockade of Cuba. The United States has zero tolerance for the depredations of the communist Cuban regime. The order states, I find that the policies, practices, and actions of the government of Cuba directly threaten the safety, national security, and foreign policy of the United States. The order establishes a mechanism to impose potentially severe additional tariffs on imports from any nation caught directly or indirectly selling or providing oil to Havana. It grants broad authority to the Secretaries of State, that's Marco Rubio, and Commerce, to identify violators and recommend tariff levels to the president. So basically, Marco Rubio is in charge of this whole thing. He's got the power now when it comes to this blockade of Cuba. Marco Rubio is running the show here. So let's get to the new Fed chair. According to Bloomberg, Trump over the weekend is going to nominate Mr. Kevin Warsh. Kevin Warsh. This is who is rumored to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve. Who is Kevin Warsh? Boy, oh boy. Trust the plan, everybody. Just trust the plan. Who is Kevin Warsh? Who's going to take over for Powell? Kevin Warsh is the son-in-law of Ronald Lauder, Estee Lauder guy, right? The guy that was pushing for Venezuela and for Greenland. I think I've got the same guy, Ronald Lauder. I think so. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think I'm right. That's his son-in-law, who's going to be the new Fed chair. That's how it looks, Kevin Warsh. And former steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group to be the next Federal Reserve chair, according to Bloomberg. The steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. What do you think, Mr. Turtles? Mr. and Mrs. Turtle? The Bilderberg Group. Oh my. Oh my, the Bilderberg Group. The steering committee guy of the Bilderberg Group to take over as Fed chair. Son-in-law of Lauder. It really is a big club. It's a small club. It's a small club. We're not in it. We're not in it. That's for sure. So let's do a clown world and we can wrap up today's video, this Friday video. And of course, today's clown world starts with Stunning and Brave, Kaya Kallas, because she broke the internet yesterday as she was speaking to the media in EU HQ. She was giving a press conference, Stunning and Brave, and one of the reporters, media representatives, offered Kaya Kallas a book, a real book, right? A book, a nice hardcover book. He offered Kaya Kallas as a gift this book, and Kaya Kallas's response was, "My reading list is quite long. I'm not telling you what I'm reading right now because she doesn't know, but it's also about history of different regions. So by the end, when I finish this job, I will be very smart. I'll play you guys the video.
I would like to give you the book as a gift. So this book is, this is the pour history. So that means for the history. So this book was written by President Barzani, and there is everything inside this book about the Kurd. So I would like to give you as a gift. Is it okay?
Yes, very
All
good. You know, my reading list is quite long. I'm not telling you what I'm reading right now, but it's also about the history of different regions. So by the end, when I finish this job, I will be very smart.
So that is stunning and brave with the very, very long reading list. Very long. It's a huge reading list. Yep. She's going to be very smart when her job as top diplomat is over. Very, very smart. I'm smart, Michael. I'm smart. Yes, you are, Fredo. You're smart. Anyway, yeah. I don't really need to add anything else to the statement from Kaya Kallas. I'm sure that she has a huge reading list that she goes through. The job of the top diplomat requires a lot of reading, everybody. A whole lot of reading. Is it possible for her to get more smart? I don't even know if it's possible for her to get more smart. Can you get more smart? I think she's going to hit like AI levels of smart if she continues her pace of reading, this pace of reading. The EU is very lucky to have such capable, smart leaders. So Keir Starmer wrapped up his visit to China, and once again he had trouble walking. He's having a lot of trouble walking around. The Chinese media is mocking Keir Starmer. From what I understand, his visit in China was very brief. I think his visit with Xi Jinping lasted for about an hour, and he did not stay long in Beijing. And the Chinese are mocking 008. How dare they mock 008, who had a lot of trouble walking around Beijing. U.S. President Trump also issued a warning to the UK and to Canada that dealing with China is very dangerous. He said that he's very good friends with Xi Jinping. I know Xi Jinping, he's a friend of mine. But he is warning the UK and Canada to stop flirting with some sort of trade agreements or business dealings with China, because Trump don't like it. He don't like it. Anyway, that is the video, everybody. That is the Clown World segment for today. The Duran.locals.com. Check us out on Telegram, on Rumble, and on X. Also go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, 26% off everything in the Duran shop. And you can also find us on Substack as well. I have a link to the Substack blog in the description box down below. I will see everyone tomorrow. Take care.